I want you to take away from tonight's talk, at least by me, is that everybody here should move and should exercise. And I'll tell you why. So I'm a cancer specialist, and I spend a lot of my days talking to cancer patients. Cancer survival has gone up, up and up, which is excellent news. And one of the things that every cancer patient asks when they see me is, what can I do to change my outcomes? How can I help myself? And you know, we often think in medicine that if exercise were a pill, we would be handing it out to everyone. Because actually it is even better than some of our treatments that we have to offer. And this is actually scientific evidence now, and there was a study published just this year that said that the power of exercise, if you exercise, and we're not talking about running a marathon, we're not talking about pumping iron at the gym, if you move, you reduce your risks of the cancer coming back, you reduce the risk of dying from cancer and from a range of other diseases. So as I said, you know, what is amazing about the dancers that we have had on stage of all ages, and even, you know, the drummers, is they're all forms of exercise. And they do a few things actually. So apart from the fact that they make your heart work and they produce a lot of sort of hormones and proteins and signals in the body that make you healthier, I think, you know, there is something about the power of community. So when you are dancing, when you are drumming, you are also collaborating. And in this day and age, when we hear so much about mental illness and we hear so much about isolation, especially in societies like this, where there is a lot of emphasis on individualism, you know, what can I do for myself? The act of collaborating in something like music or like dance or exercise is phenomenal. And really, you know, more and more we are finding out that, you know, the evidence backs the importance of doing these things. So, you know, you might ask, you know, how much exercise, how often, what kind of exercise should I do to keep well? So there was a paper which really sort of struck me, and I wrote about this in The Guardian, is that if you already exercise, so the standard exercise people will tell you is 3 to 4 times a week, up to say 30 minutes, 40 minutes. You should be able to exercise comfortably, that you are able to talk to someone, but you're a little bit breathless, but not so out of breath that you can't speak. And some strength training, especially as people get older, and there are a lot of people who are, you know, my age and older, the power of strength training, of gaining muscle strength, of gaining physical strength is really important. So the thing that struck me about this particular study with exercise is that if you are already exercising and you do more, so if you do 5 days a week and then you begin to do 7 days a week, the incremental gain from that is quite small. You will benefit, but small. Who are the people who benefit the most from exercise? They're the people who don't exercise. So if you are used to sitting and not doing exercise, you will gain the most from moving. And be it any form of movement, you know, dancing, doing something, any kind of dancing, walking, exercise. So that's sort of my soapbox pitch about the importance of exercise. As I said, you can go to sleep now. There's nothing else I'm going to say that will be terribly important. But I was asked to talk about my writing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about writing and the power of writing to both impact one's own personal health and also make a societal impact. Who in this audience writes, either for yourself or for other people? Who's a writer? There we go, there are a few here. Who is interested in writing? Who would like to be a writer? Some more hands going, all right. So as our MC said, I am very much a self-taught writer, and I'm going to give you sort of my top tips about writing and how I got from being interested and thinking about, you know, I would like to be a writer, to the place where I now write. I'm fortunate to write a regular column in the Guardian newspaper. It's free, it's not behind a paywall, so you can Google it and read it for yourself. It's a column on sort of the intersection of medicine and humanity. It's about the art of medicine, and basically about empowering the average consumer who is not medically educated to understand their health. Because as I keep saying, you may never meet an accountant or a lawyer in your life, you may not need one, but every one of us will need a doctor. So it's important to be informed about your own health and how to navigate a healthcare system. My top tips for writing are this. If you want to be a writer, you have to put pen to paper or finger to tip to keyboard or whatever it is. I meet a whole lot of people who dream about writing, but ultimately that dream comes true when you sit down and you write something. Because it's easier to write, to edit something than a blank page. And this is, to this day, this is how I write. I sit down, I think about writing, I think, oh yes, I need to write a column, I need to get it done, I procrastinate a little bit, but ultimately I sit down, I turn my devices off, I say to my friends, I'm not available, no, I can't do dinner, I can't walk, I can't do something else, because I have to write. So there is great power in discipline, in these small steps that take you towards writing, whether it's a column, it's an essay, it's a book, and so on. I would say that I predominantly write for myself, for my own satisfaction, because if you are writing for an audience, if you are writing to please people, you will probably always be disappointed. Because it's very difficult to please all people at all times, but it is good to be able to write for oneself. So often, and even when I write in The Guardian, I think about why I want to write about something. You know, I'm trying to make sense of it for my own self, for my own world. And then, if those reflections help somebody else, that's a bonus. But start writing for yourself. Write what you would like to read. Write something that you think you would enjoy reading. And it goes from there. A little word about disappointment and criticism. So firstly, I would say never trust a writer who says they don't read other people's feedback and reviews. It's simply not true. I spend a lot of time looking at what other people say about my writing because I want to get better. But by the same token, if you are disappointed at the first step, if you write something that's not very good or that somebody is critical of, I think that's part and parcel of trying, trial and error, and writing. I was going to, and so that's that. In terms of publishing, I think the publishing world today has gone sort of, you know, there are so many more platforms to publish on than there ever used to be. Starting from your local newsletter, your local newspapers, to books, to magazines, to the internet, to social media. So never be sort of, never think that if you write something, you will not find a home, because that's not quite true. In ending, I'm just going to grab my phone because I wanted to read you an email that I received many years ago when I started writing, and I read this at every possible occasion because it's something very moving. On my phone, just grab my phone. Thank you, my phone. People read these columns, and there's a particular message that I received many years ago now that reminds me of why I write. And I'm going to try to find it. Please bear with me, because it is something really moving. Here we go. Okay. And I'll finish on this one. So I will be around if you... Can you hear me? Yes. I'll be around later on if you wanted to come and talk to me about writing or about anything else, including exercise. Come and speak to me. Like many writers, there are ups and downs. I work, obviously, I write in my spare time. I'm not a trained journalist. I'm not a trained writer. I spend a lot of time thinking about what to write, how to engage the public. And sometimes when my motivation fails, and everybody's motivation fails at some point, and then you have to pick yourself up, I go back to this message which was sent to me by somebody many, many years ago, and I look at it and I read it out to audiences at least a couple of times a year. I don't know this person. So, dear Ranjana, I just wanted to send you a message to thank you for your writings in The Guardian. I'm a 31-year-old patient with stage 4 cancer. My time on this earth is pretty limited. There is not a lot of writing on cancer that I respond to or that I think really gives me a better perspective on the disease than I already have after 14 months of living with a death sentence. But your writing always moves me and teaches me something different. And this is why we write, to engage other people, to share what we know. I learn about medicine and the healthcare system and the act of living and the reality of dying. I really appreciate you talking about things from the medical professional side of things. And this is to all the people in the audience who have a particular talent or a skill that is not shared by the rest of us, because this is how you can spread that skill. So she goes on to say, I have a wonderful cancer specialist whom I adore, and she names the person, I don't know them, and a liver surgeon who is dedicated and focused on trying to do the impossible and actually operate on my horrendously screwed up liver. However, there is always a feeling as a patient that at the end of the day, the affection and kindness your doctors show to you is just a thing that they put on to make you feel like they care. So she's saying, I don't know whether doctors really care, but they put on this face to make you feel like they care. But you have taught me that doctors are human, and they are as human as they seem, which is an obvious thing, but one that is easy to forget between the scans and the tests and the constant navigation of your body as a complicated problem rather than as a human being. If I'm ever thinking about whether I should continue to write, if I ever doubt myself, this is the letter that I go back to. This is one of the last letters this woman wrote. A few days after she wrote this email, I had a chance to respond to her. She actually died. And this is a reminder of the power of writing, the power of engaging with other people, and there may be strangers around the world, across the world, you may never know them, but there's something very meaningful about sharing ourselves with the world. On that note, thank you very much for listening to me, and good evening.